Good morning. This feels very tall, even though I am very tall. Well, thank you so much for being here this morning, and thank you so much to Thomasina and Kashimana for such a beautiful opening. Talk about a tough act to follow. I'm so grateful to be here this morning with so many familiar faces and some new ones as well. I'm Kayla Richards, and I'm also really grateful to have such a long-standing relationship with the Minnesota Justice Research Center. And we're so grateful that you've made time today to be here with us for our annual Reimagining Justice Conference. So goodness, we are here to talk about commitment to progress in policing. And I've been sitting this week really thinking about how it is that I might set the stage or some context for such an important community conversation. And I think when we all do that, we tend to come back to our own lived experience. And so I found myself coming back to how I actually started my work at the MNJRC. And it was with our consent decree work with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. And so it's nice to be back in space with all of you again, talking about such an important issue. I think about being new to this space, the space of community policing, carrying both hope and hesitation, wondering if real change was possible or what that might even actually look like. And maybe some of you are holding those same very questions today. My relationship with our public safety ecosystem, like yours, I imagine, isn't neat or simple. It's layered with experience I carry in my body. There are times I've felt protected and times I've felt surveilled, moments of what has felt like partnership and moments of what can feel like profound disconnect. I look around this room and I know that I'm not alone. For some of us, this conversation maybe shapes our Monday morning staff meetings and our Friday evening kitchen table conversations. It determines which route we take home. It influences how we teach our children to move through the world. For some of us, it's in our job titles and our family stories and lineage. This isn't a theoretical conversation for any of us, really. We're not discussing abstract policies. We're talking about an ecosystem that we all navigate, that our relatives navigate, that shapes how safe or seen or valued we feel in our own communities. So as we begin, I want to honor that we're all bringing our whole selves to this room today. Our professional expertise, yes, but also our very lived experiences. Our hopes for our children, our grief about what has been and what is, and our hope for what might be possible. I know that many of you have shared space with us at the MNJRC, and some of you are new. And so for that reason, I want to invite us to create a container for our time together today, or a North Star, if you will, so that if and when we find ourselves straying from one another, we have a place to come back, a place to be. I'm hoping that we can hold curiosity today, especially when you start to feel certainty rising. I think the moment that we think we know about the pathway forward, about lots of things, but particularly about policing transformation, is the moment that maybe we stop being able to reimagine. I want us to receive and believe the experience of others. It's that simple. Not to debate their truth, but to expand our understanding of what's real and present in our communities, even if it's not present in your home. Speak from your own experience, not on behalf of an entire organization or an entire community or an entire identity group, but from your particular location in this work. And then finally, I want to invite us all to release the itch and the need to lobby. We don't have to convince one another of a singular or even plural pathway forward to get the work done today. Here's what I think I know, or what I believe at least. We cannot reimagine public safety through individual brilliance, although I know there is a lot of that in the room, a lot. or institutional power alone. The path forward requires what Dr. Sean Wilson, a Cree scholar, a favorite of mine if you will, writes about: radical relational accountability. Not the accountability of surveillance and punishment that many of our current systems offer, or the tit for tat and attempts to balance losses and wins that are simply too profound and too complicated to attempt to measure, but the accountability of what it means to be bound together in a mutual obligation to our well-being. This means recognizing that your safety is absolutely connected to mine, that an officer's humanity is bound up with a community's humanity, that the young person who's caused harm has probably, we know, also been harmed, that we cannot create justice for some by deepening injustice for others. Audre Lorde wasn't just talking about institutions and abstract systems with real-life consequences. She was talking about our willingness to create space where all people are redeemable. All of them, even the ones we don't like. She says the interdependence of our mutual difference, that's where our security lies, which enables us to descend in what she calls the chaos of community and return with a true vision of our future. It's what allows us to reimagine. You see, relational accountability asks us, who are we to each other? What do we owe one another? How do we create a system that honors our fundamental interconnectedness rather than pretend we can separate oversimplified notions of the good and the bad, the victim and the offender, the protector and the protected? A just and responsive public safety ecosystem doesn't emerge from better policies alone, though we need those. It emerges from transforming how we understand ourselves in relationship to each other. It requires us to imagine beyond the binaries that the current system perpetuates and enforces. So as we move through today, I invite you to notice when you feel yourself pulling away from relationship, away from your neighbor, maybe when somebody's truth feels too challenging, when the complexity feels too overwhelming, when you want to retreat into what you already know. That's exactly the moment I invite you to lean in. I believe that's where transformation lives. So let's begin this work together today, holding both the reality of the weight of what was and what is, and the possibility of what could be. We are so grateful that you are here today with us in space. It is now my greatest pleasure to introduce someone that I consider a mentor, a dear friend, an older brother, and someone who has taught me so much about justice and my own self-interest in its pursuit. Please welcome the Executive Director of the Minnesota Justice Research Center, Justin Terrell.
Good? Oh, hey, hi. How are you guys doing? How are people feeling? That was a powerful grounding. Please give Kayla another round of applause. Can I get this slide? Thank you and for being here and welcome to Reimagining Justice 2025. My name is Justin Terrell. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Justice Research Center. I know she introduced me. I just love saying that over and over and over again. I want to start by thanking our sponsors. If you notice, you didn't have to pay a couple $100s to get in today because our sponsors were very generous. And so thank you to the Joyce Foundation, Arnold Ventures, Polad Foundation, the Council for Minnesotans of African Heritage, which I'm a big fan of because they were my previous employer. Shout out to Linda. Thank you to the Minnesota Department of Human Rights, Child Girls, Headwaters, Vittles, our caterer. Did y'all get the little quiches? And also there are some sponsors in the room. There's some law firms that made donations to support this event. And I don't have that list in front of me, but I want to say thank you. I know we have one of our sponsors right here. And am I forgetting anything, Jermaine? Okay, good, I'm good. Next, I'd like to thank a couple of folks. First, if you are a volunteer or a staff member at the MNJRC or on contract or a part of our research steering committee, please stand up or wave a hand, something, anything. Listen, it is crazy to take a job working for me. I'm just gonna let y'all know. We are a small team. We have like 4 full-time staff. Everybody else is on contract. We have students, we have interns, we have a vibe, we work really good together, and we all support each other through some very difficult times, and we celebrate together when we knock it out the park. We punch above our weight class at the JRC, and it is so amazing to work with these people. And so I just want to say thank you to all the staff, to all the volunteers, to everyone that helps support us doing this work. I'm an organizer, I'm not a researcher. I have no business running a research nonprofit. So if you see something good at our organization, it is because of these amazing people. Next, I just want to say, let me just check my notes here. Next, I just want to just get us into the program. Here's the thing, the Minnesota Justice Research Center, you're going to notice a couple things today. One, we don't use the word reform. We are focused on transforming the criminal legal system. That is the way it is today or the way it was 5 years ago. It needs to change. It needs to become more fair, more equitable. It needs to be able to hold people and systems accountable. And whenever possible, we need to be laboring and working together to seek restoration. What Kayla talked about is really important. The reality is that we, at our conference last year, had a very dynamic keynote speaker. His name was Sean Ginwright, and he said something that has stuck with me. And if you check out his book or his Substack, it's really powerful. That we have learned to use really good racial equity lenses. What we have not learned to use so well is a mirror to look at ourselves and how we show up in this fight. Y'all feel me on that? Today is a serious invitation, not to just say we're going to fix the system or we're going to criticize the system. Today is an invitation to grow up a little bit. Today is an invitation that says, at some point we got to recognize that systems respond to who we are. That racist police officers were racist Minnesotans first. And so it is our responsibility to critique this system. It is our responsibility to advocate for accountability. It is our responsibility, it is our duty to make sure that we are being innovative in how we approach solving crimes, that we have the resources to solve crimes. It is also our duty to make sure that we understand that police officers will never be able to build trust with us because it's actually not their job. If they do it, there's a power dynamic that is going to throw it off. We have to claim that power. The people have to claim that power. And that's not an easy thing to do, which is why today we're just going to lean into a bunch of challenging conversations. And at the end of the day, my hope and my highest intention for our time together today is that we walk out of this room feeling more powerful and feeling ready to claim some responsibility around the things that we need to challenge ourselves with, so that we can more effectively challenge the system to serve our communities the way that we desire them to show up and serve. My mentor, Wiley Scott, always says something to me. He was like, Justin, man, I know you're about to do something hard. Make sure you say yes before you start. So I'm going to ask you, before we start today, will you say yes? If you agree to say yes and commit to progress in this conversation and commit to the progress we need to make in our city, the city that we love, say yes. Yes. Thank you very much. is my honor to bring up Mark Haase. Mark is a good friend of mine. We've been in this struggle together for a long time. He also serves as the board chair of the Minnesota Justice Research Center.
Thanks, Justin. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'll try to keep it short because I want to get onto the program, and we've already heard a lot of really great, inspiring things. My job right now as board chair is going to be to get you folks to open up your pocketbooks a little bit because we are a nonprofit, which means we have to raise money. But first, I just want to recognize my fellow board members. If those of you that are here, could you just please stand up quick? Appreciate you all. This is a great group to work with. If you have any questions about our work throughout the program, feel free to touch base with them. I think we have a couple more coming. So I'm going to assume that most and probably all of you are here because you have come to some understanding of our criminal legal system. You've come to see that it tends to be the place where all our societal shortcomings and failures come to rest, and unfortunately often they're made worse. It's not because people in the system aren't working hard to do better, it's just not the place to deal with those things. So I'm not going to talk about this work as why this work's important kind of broadly like that, and you've heard some great things already. I came to this work in a better understanding of what really happens about 25 years ago when I read a story in the Star Tribune about a young woman who had been incarcerated for 16 years on a 19-year-old, no prior offenses, 16 years on a federal mandatory minimum sentence. And I read that and just thought, what a waste of human life and potential. Not to mention that was being done with my tax dollars and in my name. And I had, prior to that time, I was about 30, I had no idea what was going on. So that I wanted to do something about that. So that was one reason I went to law school, and then after law school I got involved in policy work. And as I did policy work, I saw that so much was done in our name without any understanding of what its real impact was, without an understanding of the people, without an understanding of what works or what doesn't. It was done based on these stories, of one incident that was totally fear-based and political. And, I worked at an organization, the Council on Crime and Justice, great organization that was here in the community for a long time but is no longer open. Some of us came together to form this organization to help replace some of their work because we knew that without an organization rooted in the community to get at what is really going on and what works, we're going to continue to just do these things based on fear and, the worst in our human nature and lack of information. And so that's why we wanted to start a research organization. And I know research is it's not easy to fund. It's not sexy. We're not giving toys to kids. We're not, feeding people who need food, like all really great, important things. But I think this is, it's at least as important because without doing this work, you can't change things to really make the long-lasting, sustainable change. So that's why I'm asking you to share a little bit of your hard-earned treasures. I know you probably all give to other organizations, but if you could give anything today, we did make the conference free this year thanks to our sponsors, so think about what you might pay for another experience like this, and if you can do even more, that would be awesome. It is Give to the Max Day, so we get some extra recognition and bling or something for that, so if you could give through that, if you go to the code that's in the back that takes you to Give to the Max, code up here as well, and then if you have any questions about that, talk to any of the folks in the back. In closing, I just want to quote my favorite person, if you ever get that question, if you could have lunch with anybody, who would it be? For me, it's Brian Stevenson. If you haven't read his book, Just Mercy, I really recommend you do. The quote is, when we get close, we hear things that can't be heard from afar. We see things that can't be seen. And sometimes that makes the difference between acting justly and unjustly. Thanks. Have a great day.